Hi everyone, thanks for joining today. I'm Rebecca. We are doing a level 1 mat class where we'll start with a tiny bit of standing, maybe a couple roll downs, and then we'll come down onto our mat. So mostly on the mat for this class, and you won't need any props, just you and the mat. And this is this is Monday, and we're going to move and feel good. So come to the back of your mat and just get yourself organized, having the even weight in the right and the left foot, and then also even weight between the balls of the feet and the heels. So a nice 4 points of even pressure if you can. A little softness in your knees if you tend to hyperextend, that nice neutral pelvis, and then a lovely tall spine and the weight of the head over all that. And we'll take a couple breaths just to take time to observe our breath. So and then once you've observed the breath and just noted, is it a shallow breath? Is it rapid? Is it deep and full? Then you can make changes. You can be a little bit deliberate with your breath, and in particular, trying to bring your air to the sides of the rib cage, the sides and back of the rib cage. So imagine breathing in. I often say, imagine breathing into your low back, because that's often an area we carry tension in, and to be able to breathe into that space, that's where we really get into the deepest, sort of recesses of the lungs. So, just even if it's just a visualization for now, try to picture the air filling that space at the very back and bottom of the rib cage. And then on your out breath, we're going to just tuck the chin. We're not going to move very far yet. We're just going to shift our gaze, basically. So from looking horizontal on your out breath to maybe looking down at the forward edge of your mat, and then back up to horizontal and a little chin tuck again. And what we're doing here is we're just lengthening the back of the neck. If you had your head up against an imaginary wall behind you, then your head would not leave the wall. You just have your chin tuck and right back up. Chin tuck and right back up. And this lengthens the back of in particular the upper neck. So that suboccipital region, there's a lot of wonderful things going on there that are important to have good nutrition and mobility, at that junction between the skull and the spine. So here you're doing your own work on that. And now we're going to go a little further. So keep the chin tuck. And then imagine one bone of the neck at a time, moving forward on the one below it to go down and look at your toes. And then pick it back up. And let that chin be the last thing to untuck. And again, little chin tuck. One bone of the neck at a time as you move to look at your toes. Still a space between chin and chest, and then restack. And again, nod and roll forward. Restack. And on the next one, we'll go even further. We'll do our nod. We'll keep that gentle chin tuck as we lengthen the neck, and then allowing the whole spine, one bone of the back at a time, to roll forward. And if your spine is not happy doing this, you go as far as you're comfortable, or just continue with the upper body movement. Take a nice breath in. And to restack, I want you to draw in with the belly. I want you to squeeze the bum, and I want you to pick up the spine, one bone of the back at a time. Really imagine yourself getting taller here. Open across the chest, and we'll do that again. Nod the chin, lengthen the back of the neck. And always remember that you can put your hands on your thighs, you can bend the knees, you can do whatever you need to make this movement happy for your body. At the bottom of this one, just gently shake the head no. Take a nice breath in and restacking. Opening across the chest And this one will stay down. Nod the chin. Imagine a lot of length in the spine. If you had a big barrel strapped to your thighs, you're trying to go over and around it. You're not just trying to get to the floor. You're trying to lengthen between the tailbone and the crown of the head. At the bottom of this one, just gently soften your right knee and then straighten it again. And gently soften the left knee and straighten it again. And this feels usually really nice through the hips, through the waist, the low back, and in particular down the back of the thighs, back of the legs. One more nice one on each side. So soften the right knee, straighten it out. Soften the left knee, straighten it out. Take a nice breath in, and then walk it out to be on hands and knees. So bend your knees so the hands touch the mat, and then try to keep the center of you over the center of the mat as you come out, to have the hands positioned under the shoulders, the knees positioned under the hips. And we'll start in a nice neutral spine with the fingers spread, the thumbs out to the sides, and a nice long neck. And from here, we're going to move into a cat stretch. So take a nice breath in, just in your neutral spine. And as you breathe out, let's start with the low spine. So let's start by moving the pelvis, the low back, drawing in with the tummy, then the mid back, upper back, and finally the head and neck dropping down to be in this lovely arched position. Take a nice breath in. And then release in reverse. Find neutral with your head and neck first. Then the upper back, the mid back, and finally the low spine is the last thing to come back and find that neutral. And we'll do it again. Nice breath in. Do all you can with the low back before you begin to let the mid back join in. The low back often has a harder time getting into this rounded position. And so it's really nice to do all you can with that lower part of the spine before you move into the relatively easier part of the mid back. And again, nice breath in and neutral on your out breath. Gently pulling the tummy back towards the spine, and think about the ribs and the hips, like closing the distance in the front. Good. At your peak here, just hold it for a breath and make sure the shoulders are wide, the shoulder blades are away from the ears. And then gently release. Head and neck find their neutral position. Upper back, mid back, and low back finally. Good. Take a nice breath in and pressing strongly through your right hand. Right? Keep a good distance between your rib cage and the mat and reach the left arm forward. Lower it down. Switching sides. And lower it down. And so here, the whole spine, right? Between the shoulder blades, all the way down to the tailbone, and including the head and neck, actually. Everything stays nice and still. Right? And if you wanted to put something on your back to test that out, if you have a small ball or something that is a little bit round that you can put on the lower part of your spine, then you might get a little feedback as to, are you being completely still? Or, do you rotate the spine as you lift the arm? Or do you drop on that side? Your idea is that the center of you stays nice and still while the arm does the movement. Feel free now to keep working on the arm or add in the leg too. So the opposite arm, opposite leg, and lower it down. And then, right? And it doesn't matter really how high you lift either at this point, where we're a level 1 video. What you'd really like to do is work on that center, on that foundation. You can always get a little more flexibility in the shoulder. You can always get a little more flexibility in the hip to be able to lift, up to being sort of parallel with the ground. But right now, you want to see if you can stay steady as you switch from right to left. You want to make sure that as you raise the leg, you draw in with the belly, right? So that it doesn't come from the back. And as you raise the arm forward, you're trying to keep the shoulder away from the ear. And that's hard for us often. Good. Hold this one up. We're going to do a little repeater, right? So keep the elbow and the knee straight and drop the fingertips and toes to the mat and pick them back up. And as you pick them back up, I want you to feel like the tummy draws in and you keep that rib cage pressed away from the mat. Right? We're going to do 6, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it here. Just check your form. Is the shoulder away from the ear? Is the knee straight? Beautiful. Lower it down, switch sides, repeater on the other side. Remember, you can just do the arm, right? That's our focus today. Or arm and leg is great. Little repeater here once you get your balance. Lower the fingertips and the toes and pick them back up. And as you pick everything back up, remember you're trying to stay strong around that shoulder, the left one that's on the mat, so you're not gradually sinking towards the mat with the head and the chest. You're keeping a nice distance there. Good, I lost count. Let's do 3 more. 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Lower it down. Take a nice breath in and move into that cat stretch again. Just general, not being particular about one bone of the back at a time. Keep that nice arch as you rock the hips back towards the heels. And you can linger here in this lovely shell stretch. You can leave the arms overhead if that's comfortable, or if it possible, you can lower the forehead to the mat, wrap the hands around by your feet. Let your shoulder blades be nice and wide and your mid-back relaxed. And then just take a couple nice breaths in where you picture the air going where we visualized in the beginning. You picture the air going to the lowest part of the rib cage. Picture that breath actually filling into your low back space. And also in this posture, we're imagining developing a little tunnel between belly and thighs as you breathe in. Imagining the lower spine lifting towards the ceiling a little bit, so that as you breathe out, you can sink a little deeper into this little ball or this little shell position. One more nice, beautiful breath. And as you breathe out, you can help with your arms, or if you don't need them, just roll it up to nice kneeling. And then we're going to come forward onto our belly. And we're going to work first the upper body, and we'll do the lower body as well. So, coming to find a nice neutral pelvis. And that really just means relaxing your pelvis into the position that it lands on the mat, but really, letting go of tension, being aware of what landmarks you feel. Maybe you feel the bony hips touching the mat. Maybe you feel the pubic bone. Maybe you don't feel any of those points touching the mat. That's okay. Everybody's anatomically built different, so you're just noticing, where's that pelvis, because you want it to stay still throughout the series. Legs are nice and straight and rooted to the mat for now. Take a nice breath in, and on your out breath, I want you to draw in with the belly. And then breathe in and relax. On your out breath, imagine lifting your tummy away from the mat, right? Not so you can't breathe anymore, not dramatic like that, but just to give some strength in the front body, because we're going to lift, and on this next one you can. Exhale, draw in with the belly, and then float up with the face and the throat and a little bit of the breastbone to be in this low hover. And you want to maintain this. We're going to work the upper back a little bit here, our postural muscles. So bring the arms out to your sides to be in this little W position. The forearms are on the mat or on the floor beside your mat if you're a little bit broad. Take a nice breath in. And then without losing the position of your head, your neck, your chest, you're going to see on your next exhale if you can float the right arm. So draw in with the belly, keep that strength, and then just float the right arm. And then put it back down, and then pick up the left. And put it down. And if this is okay, if you feel like, just do one more on each side. If you feel like you can stay still through your hips, still through your rib cage, then you can progress this. On your exhale, drawing in with the belly, floating the right arm, and then reaching it ahead. So just skimming, an inch off the floor, reach it ahead, and pull it back in and lower it down. Lift, reach ahead, pull it back, and lower down. And sometimes that's too much. As you go to reach ahead, if you feel like all of a sudden the waist is moving or, the shoulders up around the ear, or you have pain, then you don't have to do that part. Just simply taking the weight of the arm off the mat is a good challenge, and you will feel it in the back muscles between the shoulder blades. You'll also probably feel it working like strength-wise in your low back or in your glutes, your back of the pelvis, your bum. But you want to counter that with some strength in the front body. That's why you're thinking of drawing in with the abdominals. Float the right arm, reach it ahead, so that this is comfortable in your spine and nice and still in your spine as you repeat. Good. Let's do one more on each side. Float the right arm, and as you reach ahead, try to keep the shoulder away from the ear. You don't have to get the elbow all the way straight. You don't have to lift the arm high. The left side, reach ahead, bring it back. Both arms on the mat now, elbows, forearms, and hands, and then on your next exhale, if it feels comfortable, drawing in with the belly to give that support. Lift up with the face, the throat, a little bit more of the breastbone to get into this nice extension. But again, only if it feels good. And imagine getting tall out of the top of your head, not just reaching up high towards the ceiling. And then peel it down and place the hands back under the forehead. And you can bend the knees if you feel like you need to after that, and just do a little roll, like a rock and roll side to side. Good. And then we're just going to do 6 on each side, just some single leg lifts. So you can have the toenails straight down, or you can turn them out slightly. Take a nice breath in to prepare. Really keep that idea of the tailbone staying towards the mat, or having a little bit of space between the hip pointers and the mat, and maintaining that as you lift the weight of the right leg and lower it down. And then the weight of the left leg and lower it down. And just alternate at your own pace. Remembering that you're trying to feel the upper body stay relaxed. You're trying to keep the knee straight. That's one of our favorite cheats. As we bend the knee, we think of lifting the foot. Instead of, we really want to think about lifting the thigh. This is a movement from the hip. Think of lifting the thigh. And just like we did with the upper body, think of drawing in the tummy as you lift the leg, so that the strength of your front body gives the stability and the support that you need for the back body to be able to do this movement comfortably. One more with the right leg. Good. One more with the left. Beautiful. Take a nice breath in, bring the hands underneath the chest and bend the knees and press up and back to be in that lovely shell stretch again. Taking your time to get there. Sometimes after you've been on your front and in that little bit of extension, you need some time for the tissues to soften. In order to be comfortable here again, nice breath in. Good, good, good. One more nice breath. And then, helping yourself if you need to, roll it back up to nice kneeling, and come back onto your hands and knees for one more lovely exercise. This is our hover. And if your toes hate curling underneath, if you have some arthritis in the toes, or you've broken them before, or you've had a fusion, then you can always do this from the tops of the toes and hover the knees. It's just a little bit of different work in the ankles. If you can tuck the toes, it's really nice because it does get you some flexibility in the toes. So take a nice breath in to prepare. And on your out breath, before you lift the knees, make sure you lift your pelvic floor. You draw in with your belly. You keep everything nice and still, neutral spine, and hover the knees. Nice breath in to lower the knees, and exhale to lift the knees again. And this is hard, right? I put this in level 1, but it's hard. It's demanding. Exhale to lift. And inhale to lower. Let's try to do 2 more. Perfect. And the reason I choose to put it in level 1 is because we do stuff like this in our day. We don't get down on our knees necessarily and lift the knees, but we do things where we push forward with our hands. You can rock back into that shell stretch 1 more time. And then we're going to come down onto our sides. So I like the hover for many reasons because it tends to relate to real life. So come down onto your side, and we're going to lay towards the back of the mat with the knees up in front so that you have 90 degrees at the hips. The knees are out towards the front edge of the mat, and so are the feet. You can have your top arm on your hip, or you can have a balance, whatever feels good. But look at your knees for just a second and make sure the top one is the same length as the bottom one. And that'll help you know that you stacked your pelvis. Take a breath in to prepare, and on your first 2 or 3, I just want you to lift the knee and lower down. And keep the pelvis nice and still, the upper body nice and still. It's just this lift of the knee and lower. And the reason I want you to warm up, I'm going to lift the whole leg, but I want you to lead with the knee. Lower down. So you can start lifting the whole leg if you feel ready. And you're going to lift it as high as you can without rolling back in the pelvis. So if you had a wall right up behind you, the back of your pelvis was against the wall, you wouldn't roll back at all into that wall. Okay? And so here, the knee is always a little bit higher than the foot or at the same level. Sometimes our movement pattern is to lift the foot first. And that's really not what we're targeting here. We don't want to do this. We want to do that. Okay? And we're going to do 3 more, 2 more, 1 more, and then we're going to do our rotation. So from here, we're going to drop the foot, pick it up a little higher, and bring it back to parallel. So you drop the foot, pick it back up, and bring it a little higher. So you're doing a little rotation of the hip while it's in the air. The knee is really staying sort of still in space. And this is, you'll feel it in the hip, eh? It's good for the rotators of the hip, the deep pelvis muscles. It's lovely, but it's a lot of work. Good, let's do 1 more. Drop the foot, pick it back up, pick it up higher, back to parallel, lower it down. Felt that, eh? Keep the bottom knee bent. Take that top leg, and I want you to straighten it out so that if someone was looking down at you from above, they would see, a straight line through your ear, your shoulder, your hip, right down that leg. Okay? And it's parallel to the floor, if you can do that. Take a nice breath in, and here we're going to sweep the leg. So we're sweeping it forward, and then point and sweep back. Sweep it forward, and point and sweep back. And so you're parallel to the floor here. And we're adding in that little ankle movement because it tends to feel really good. As you move forward, you're trying to feel like a length down the whole sciatic area, the whole back of the thigh, hamstring, calf, right to the heel. And as you point and sweep back, usually our cheat is that we pull the low back in to do some of that movement. We really arch the back. But you'd like to draw in with the tummy, be strong in the abdominals as the leg. No movement here, it's all at the hip. We're going to add to this. This is Wendy's favorite. We're going to lift a little bit, 1 inch, and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. Let's try 4 more. 3, 2, 1, and then back to parallel. Sweep it back behind you. Not behind you, but in line, or a little bit behind you maybe. And we'll do the same thing here. We'll lift 1 inch and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower for 4, for 3. Try to keep the waist still. And lovely, good. And bend the knee and relax. Coming around to be in that same position on the other side. And if it's ever not comfortable to to use the bottom arm as your pillow, then bend the elbow or grab that cushion so that you can be relaxed and in a good alignment with the upper body. Knees are the same length. Good. And here we go. Raising just the knee at first and lowering it back down. Raising the knee and lowering it back down. Awesome. And then if you're ready, start to lift the whole leg and lower. The whole leg and lower. But the knee is always just that little bit higher than the foot or the same height, but you're not leading with the foot. And we're doing just this plain, bent knee lift and lower. And then we'll add our rotation. Let's do 2 more like this. Just lift and lower, lift and lower. And then we'll hold the next one. And here we'll add the rotation. So you're going to try to drop the foot down towards the other one. It might not touch. And bring it back up. And then lift it higher and bring it back to parallel. So foot drops, pick back up, lift, back to parallel. Drop, parallel, lift, parallel. Drop, parallel, lift, parallel. How many more are we doing? Good rotator work, right? Let's do one more after this. So we drop the foot, pick it back up, lift, parallel, lower the whole thing. Take that, brief moment to just relax. And then take the top leg, straighten it out so that, again, if someone's looking at you from above, you've got that nice straight line happening between the whole length of the spine and out the leg. The hand can be on the mat if you need for a little bit of support, or on that top hip. Flex the foot and straight leg sweeps ahead what you can control and back what you can control. And you're really looking for that stillness in the waist and that nice sensation of a length in the back of the leg as you sweep forward, and then a length almost in the front of the hip as you sweep back. And I really like this one. It gets us some good movement at the hip, through the whole flexibility of the hip, I guess. We get that strengthening happening. Let's do one more full one, and then we'll hold this one forward. And we'll lift an inch and lower. Lift an inch and lower. Oh, that's hard work. And we're going to do 4 more. 4, 3. That's not an inch at all. I'm way overdoing it. Anyway, hopefully you're a better estimator of size of movement. Sweep that back. Have the leg in line with the rest of the spine or a little bit behind, but your neutral spine. And you're lifting another inch and lowering. Lift and lower. Lift and lower for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1, and bend the knee. Bring it in and relax. Good. We're going to come onto our back and just do a little bit of work, for our spinal mobility and a little bit of deeper center core work. So onto your back and just taking that moment to organize yourself, to find your neutral pelvis where you've got your hip pointers and your pubic bone, nice horizontal line. You've got the feet relaxed and grounded to the mat. The knees are only as wide as the hips and the feet. And then just take another moment and make sure the head is heavy against the mat. The shoulders are away from the ears. The chest is nice and open. And take a nice breath in. And when you breathe out, you're gently drawing the tummy back towards the spine a little bit and allowing that low back to gently flatten towards the mat. It doesn't have to get all the way flat, it's just moving in that direction, and then you're breathing in and finding that neutral pelvis again. And this is quite nice. Exhale, low back gently flat. Inhale to come back to neutral. So this is, it really asks you to move every joint of that lower back, that lumbar spine, and get some movement at the SI joints, a little bit of movement at the hips, not much. But really what you'd like to do also is feel that, that connection to your breath and to your core. Let's build on this and
Allow that low back to gently flatten, but now we're going to squeeze the bum and pick up the tailbone, then the back of the pelvis, then the low spine, coming up, if possible, to this low bridge position with a nice level pelvis, like side to side. Take a nice breath in, and then peel it down, one bone of the back at a time. Use gravity to help you return back as smooth as possible and right back to neutral, where you take your breath in. And exhale to peel it back up. And you're just going to do this at your own pace, pausing at the top, taking a breath in, and then peeling down one bone of the back at a time and right back to neutral. Exhale to peel it up. Nice breath in at the top. And back to neutral. Gorgeous. And we'll just do 2 more because this is really nice. If you have, if you struggle with back pain or tension, it's usually a really nice exercise to do, to demand that articulation, that movement of the low back. Sometimes it takes a long time to come. It's not an overnight, immediate thing. But once, with some work, often you can help yourself to gain a little mobility there, and out of gravity, so that sometimes it's pain-free when it might have been painful if you worked on it in standing or sitting. Let's keep the pelvis up for this one. Take a nice breath in, and as you breathe out, you're going to stay still with the left leg, but let the right knee open out to the side, but the hips stay level. And then come back to the center and switch. Right knee stays still, left knee opens out to the side, and come back to the center. And if you're a bit of an old salt and you want a little extra challenge today, you can float the arms off the mat so that you're not using them for stability. But that's a lot harder than having them on the mat to give you that support. So just, choose your own adventure within your limits and what feels good in your body. Your idea is that not only does your pelvis stay level, but it also doesn't shift, over to the left as we let the right knee come out, or over to the left, or the right as we let the left come out. You're nice and still in all planes. The other cheat that we love to do is, as the left knee goes out to the side, for example, the right knee will also go out to the side a little bit as a counterbalance. So you'd really like to make sure that the knee that's, you're asking to stay still is actually staying still over the foot. Let's do one more nice one with the right knee. Come in, the left, beautiful. Take a nice breath in, lift the hips a little higher if you'd let them fall a little bit, and then peel it down. One bone of the back at a time. Gorgeous. And then you can bring the knees in towards the chest, one at a time or both together, whatever feels good to you in your body, and just hug those knees in towards the chest, maybe a little rock side to side. Feels good? Good. Wonderful. And then we're going to do a little bit of core work. So if you have your mini ball at home and you know the series and you want to put it under the pelvis to give you that little feedback, go ahead. I did say it's a prop-free class, so I'm not going to use it. If you don't have the mini ball, you can just feel where your pelvis is. This is what you're tuning into. This is the important sort of essence of the exercise. You want to make sure that as you move your leg, there's not rotation, through the pelvis. There's not a flattening of the spine. Everything from the pelvis up, spine, rib cage, everything stays nice and still, and lowering back down. So feel where the weight of your bum or your pelvis is. Even put your hands on your hips if you want to. Take a breath in to prepare. And then before you lift the leg, you're thinking of that pelvic floor lift. You're thinking of the deep belly drawing in a little bit to help you stay steady as you bring the right leg up to what we call tabletop and lower it back down. And then just switch sides. Once again, at your own pace. And I'm going to give you some options with upper body, right? But if you're really focused on the lower body, if you feel like, you can't keep the tummy drawn in, it bulges, right? Or you're losing that, you're getting some movement in the pelvis, then just stay here, feel what's going on with your hands, and focus on the low body and the real essence of the exercise. If you're happy and you want to add in some arm movements, and have those arms up towards the ceiling, and as the left knee comes up, I want you to bring the right arm overhead, but no change through the spine. Lower them both, or return to where you started and switch. Right? And switch. So if the arm's a distraction, stick with the legs, but if you're adding in the arm, then really make sure as the arm goes overhead, those low ribs don't lift up towards the ceiling, they don't pop. You really hold that area back, the solar plexus sort of, anchoring back towards the mat behind you, right? Because a lot of us, one thing we like to do to get stability is, we grip with the back muscles. We put the ribs up, and then we're like, yeah, we could be here all day, no movement. But really, we're loose and lazy in the abdominals, and we're quite overdoing it with the back muscles. So make sure that you truly have that neutral spine, and you have those ribs held back, and then you should feel, even if you typically do a level 3 video, you should feel some activity here when you do just this. Let's do a little repeater. So let's have the left leg in the air. And again, you can have the hands on the hips, or for added difficulty, you could bring the arms overhead, as long as you're keeping those low ribs held down, the elbows nice and straight. And we're gonna straighten the leg, and then lower it only what you can control. And that means no movement through the spine or your center. Bring it back into where you started, and we'll repeat again. So a little repeater with the left leg, making sure that the pelvis doesn't move. If the arms are overhead, the shoulders are away from the ears, the rib cage is nice and steady. And one other thing you can do, if you're sort of a level 1, maybe pushing more into a level 2, or you've just been doing the videos a while, you could lift and balance on the right toe or ball of the foot, and that just gives you less stability through that limb, right? So always ways to make it harder, right? Hold this one out. Good. Check your form, and then bring it in, lower that down, lower the arms just for a second, or shake it out. And we'll do that same thing with the other side. So bringing right leg up to tabletop. If you want, you can balance on the ball of the foot or even the tippy toe. If you're doing the arms, they're overhead, just what you can control and be comfortable in the shoulders. And then straightening that right leg and lower it down. Bring it back in. Don't hesitate, especially if it's your first, these first few times doing the video, or you're just unsure, or you're not comfortable, then make sure you just do the leg and really get that idea that the pelvis is rooted to the mat. There's no movement there, while the leg does its free movement, right? The arms overhead certainly adds another challenge. So just make sure you're comfortable, whichever version you're choosing. Make this one your last one and hold it out. And just check your form. The abdominals are strong, the low ribs are held back, the pelvis is steady. And bring it in and lower it down. Good. And then we'll just let's pull the left knee in towards the chest and let that right leg straighten out nice and long. If you're on the ball, this is a beautiful stretch. And even if you're on the mat, just trying to feel that length in the front of the right hip as you draw the left in. And switching so that you get that nice stretch on the other side as well. Draw the right knee in towards the chest. If the knee doesn't like the pressure of your hands on the shin or the front of the knee, you can always hold behind the thigh and pull in that way. And that still gives you a good stretch at the hip and opposite movement of what the other leg's doing, but without putting the force through the knee. Awesome. And just relax. Straighten out both legs. Turn the palms up. And just take a few nice breaths in. Try to feel that you're heavy into the mat. You can do a little bit of a body scan here if you want, a little bit of a meditation where you picture, each part of the body from the head, down the arms, down the spine, right to the feet. Each part getting heavier into the mat and a little more relaxed. I'm not going to take you through that right now in case you're like me and you're going on to fill your day with busyness. But I will leave you here. Take a nice breath in and out. And there you go. Hope that feels good. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. It was a little bit of a backwards order of video. For me, I'd often end with the hands and knees or on the belly, but yeah, it was a little bit of reverse. So if you enjoyed it, do it again. I'll enjoy seeing you every time. And yeah, look forward to next time. Thank you.